Welcome back to Hunt the Season podcast. On this episode here, we sit down with Steve Sherk. Obviously, Steve Sherk is known for hunting the big woods, guiding in the big woods of Pennsylvania here on the Allegheny National Forest, getting his clients on big bucks, and not only that, but getting himself on some big deer in general. Steve's really well known for his trail cam data in Pennsylvania, where he's been on multiple podcasts before talking about trail cam data. Just scouting the big woods, breaking it down, finding the sign, how to know where to sit, the wind, thermals, all that kind of stuff. And this was not a planned episode of where this episode took, but in this one, we talk about blind calling a lot. And Steve, I did not know this because he never talks about this, but he calls a lot in the big woods. And we break down why and why it's successful for him and the keys to making it work. And the type of areas you should be calling in when you're in there. So this is a packed full of cool conversations with Steve, all about calling in big woods, and then talk about how his past season went and what his plans are for this coming season. I'm recording this right now. It's Friday. I just got off work. It's August 29th. This episode drops September 1st, so happy Labor Day, everyone. Hopefully you're doing something fun with your family. Hopefully you're doing a cookout. Hopefully you're enjoying the nice weather because, man, it is freaking gorgeous outside. I don't know about all of you guys, but like this cool weather, waking up in the morning, feeling that 50 degrees and, wear a sweatshirt to go to work or walk outside, have a cup of coffee outside, just see your breath after you drink that coffee. Oh, that gets me fired up. I'm pumped. I am absolutely pumped for deer season. It's closer, Monday closer to deer season here. It's going to be September. So guess what? Next month, statewide opener in Pennsylvania opens up. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready. I am so ready for this. But on September 5th, I'm actually going up with Jimmy to Juniata Winery to do, it's called Guys Night Out. Tickets are already sold out. There's no more tickets being sold anymore, but Steve Sherk is doing a seminar on his trail cam data up there, and we now will be recording it, and it will be posted to our YouTube channel. Steve, if he wants some stuff, I'm going to give him some stuff. I'm going to get pictures of him, all that kind of stuff. Anyone who's coming up, can't wait to see you. I'm going to bring some decals with. These are the new decals that we got. I have one on the back of my truck already. If you want them, they are 5 inches. By like 3.5, I think, or something like that. Good size decal. And then we're going to have a giveaway here coming soon. We're going to do it before the season comes, so then that way it can be put out there for you guys. Right now, what we have is a trail camera, a new hat, a decal, obviously. We have a drag or a butchering kit on there. Not like the knives and everything, but like the tarp you can put down in the woods to put your deer on so you can quarter it up in the woods and not get all the dirt on it. That's from actually Deer Age. I got that like 1.5 years ago. Haven't used it. Probably not going to use it, so I'm just going to give that away. And then Deer Hunter Synthetic, we're throwing in a full scrape set of that as well. So that, keep an eye out for that. Make sure you're following along because that's going to be there. Partners, XOP, OnX, Deer Hunter Synthetic, obviously. Make sure you get some of that stuff. Now is the time. Don't wait till the season because he might be pretty busy come the season time. So I would go to his website now, deerhunterpodcast.com, or just Google Deer Hunter Synthetic or message me and I'll send you the link. You have Everett's Guns in Dornsiff, PA. If you want to use shotgun, if you want to use gun in general, if you want to check out some ammo, he has blinds up there, the big nice box blinds up there. He has some Coda Silence camo. He also has some boots up there that are really high quality boots that he has up there. He just is retiring this week, so congratulations to him. He will now be going up there more often. So call him, give him a call, and see what he's got. He'll let you know. He'll talk to you. And then Campco, obviously use code HTS now. That'll get you 10% off your entire order. Also, we will be doing a pre-order of shirts through Campco. So keep an eye out for that. I think it'll be maybe 1, 2, 3, or 4 different color shirts, but all the same logo on there. It's going to be a pre-order, and then after that, I don't know if we're going to have shirts for a while after that. It's just one of those things that we want to focus on growing the brand, growing the name, and just focus on filming and enjoying it and having fun. Not going to put a lot of stress on selling a bunch of merch or anything like that, but if there's a request for merch, we're definitely going to look into it. Deer age. Obviously, right now, as I'm recording this, I just got the code changed. So it's no longer Backcountry PA all capitals. It is now HTS, probably Hunt the Season is what I'm going to go with. Let me see. I know I just messaged them. Yeah, so the code will now be HTS. Unless something changes between here and when this episode drops, or down the road. Keep an eye out for next episode too. Might have an update for you because, this is pretty cool to know the age of the deer that you actually harvested. So keep an eye out for that. Other than that, guys, man, it's so close to the season. I can taste it on my tongue. I can taste it. I found some more intel on my number one target buck from last year that I never saw him on camera at before. So I got that. Cameras, I personally forgot to turn some on when I took my daughter out there, so that is partially my fault. Some other cameras are complete shit and did not work, and they just stopped working in general, so I'm never buying those ones again. Actually, those ones are discontinued now, and that goes to show you why. But it's just some cool intel from that. And I'm using I have an episode coming out with this. It's called Hunt Regs app. I would highly recommend go checking that out. You can enter your trail cam data in there, and when you saw them, or if you saw them on the hoof, whatever, pretty much what you do, you can go into your journal, you can enter in a sightings, a name of the buck that you have, and then you put the time stamp in there, the date, and the time from last season, and then it'll calculate what the weather was in that area. It'll give you the biometric pressure, it'll give you the wind, it'll give you the temperature, it'll give you precipitation, it'll give you all that stuff, and it kind of helps you build up a game plan for possibly, okay, he moved during this time frame right now. I think if I go out this day here, it looks about the same, maybe I'll be able to see him again. But I have a lot of intel on this one deer in general, and I pretty much think I found his like core area kind of, or his two core areas, his early and late season areas. I think I found them. So I put all that information in, and now it's just a matter of just me trying to dial it in a little bit and figure out where I want to sit. So that's kind of my game plan right now. Make sure you go subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to the Spotify, follow us on Apple, iHeart, Pandora. Go like the main page and the Hunt the Season podcast page on Instagram and Facebook. We really want to thank you guys because you guys are the biggest supporters of all of this. It's almost here. It's almost here. Enjoy the episode. See you. When you find an area, I mean, we talked about this on another podcast we had, but like when you find the area and you have like, especially first time in it, and then you have all these like decent buck in there. It's like, man, like what did I just stumble on?
That doesn't always happen. So if you find an area where it's got several of them, you really found something.
It gets me excited. Like when you start like finding this sign and putting the pieces together, and like, it's just so fun.
It becomes addicting then too.
Well, yes, there's been sick days used just to go out and scout now. It's always an honor to have you on the podcast here. I think this is what, like fourth time, maybe fourth
at least.
I would say, yeah. You lose count.
Yeah, I don't know how many times, but it's always been good. So thanks for having me back.
Absolutely, man. For the listeners that don't know you, just give a little brief synopsis of who you are and what you're about.
Yeah, I'm from northern Pennsylvania, the northwest portion, up in McKean County. Most people know me because I have a hunting guide service. It's called Sherk's Guide Service, where it's exclusively all big woods, public land, whitetail hunting, mainly rut archery, some gun hunting. But a lot of people follow me through my social media, Instagram, Facebook, and it's got me on like a lot of podcasts like this where, I've been really been honestly fortunate and just to be able to talk about deer hunting with so many people like you and to share what I've learned and at times I get some good positive feedback where it helps listeners. So I just I find that to be a pretty cool thing and something where I don't just use hunting for myself, but it's helped other people in a lot of ways, whether it's been through my business or just something like a podcast or whatever. So yeah, that's usually how people know me, how they find me. It's how a lot of people come and hunt with me too. So I'm can't tell you, I've been on a lot of different podcasts, but I look forward to doing every one, and that's definitely the same thing with being here chat with you guys tonight.
Yeah, I think for me, I just love talking whitetails. Like I just love learning so much, like from you, Steve, from like Ryan Glitsky, from Nick Queen, like all these guys that we have on the podcast. It's just the knowledge you guys share. Like it's not like um I try and learn it from you necessarily, but it's like it just happens like through your stories or through what you've learned over the years. And then I go out there and I try and apply it to what I'm seeing in the woods. Like I think that's because you can listen to podcasts all you want and try and like take that knowledge in, right? But it's like it's different than actually going out there and putting boots on the ground, actually seeing it in
Yep.
the woods.
Yep. No, I know just exactly what you mean. And for me, growing up in, a family tradition of decades of deer hunters, like I learned so much from them. And if anything, like that's what sparked my passion was just being around all the guys, all my uncles, grandfather, dad, friends, you name it. Like just that, there's almost like, it's almost spiritual. Like it just kind of rubs off on you. And, you're like, as a kid, I just want to be like those guys. And, it just seems like a cool thing. And, it's amazing how it rubs off to just about anyone with just the slightest passion for deer hunting, man. Once you get in a conversation with a guy about deer hunting, if he's even slightly passionate, it can lead to some endless conversations.
The willingness to share information.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, any one of us could easily just like, no, we're just going to keep all this to ourselves and never share with anyone. But like, I think the hunting community we're secret, and I mean, who isn't? You got your spots. You don't want to, obviously you're not going to share those, but yet if someone asks you questions on tips, tactics, what do I do? What don't I do? Like any advice, almost anyone is more than willing to share whatever knowledge that they have, with anybody.
That's definitely been a big thing anymore. I think in a lot of states there's a decline in hunters, but I think one way that we're kind of, hanging in there is that we're all helping each other out when it comes to, giving tips and sharing our stories and things like that. And the craving for knowledge and the access to knowledge anymore about deer hunting is just unbelievable. Like when I'm in my late 30s now, but when I was a teenager, I mean, I really got obsessed with deer hunting, and basically all you had then was just books. And I can remember reading like 200-300 page books, and it would take me a month or two. Now you can figure something out or, learn what you want to know in seconds because there's just so much information out there. So it's amazing how the learning curve is, shortened so much for deer hunters, in this day and age. But I think it's needed given the fact that, things are a little bit fragile out there.
Yeah, I mean, my dad gave me, I think it's North American Whitetails, like the whole collection, like the whitetail books. And I've been reading the one, it's like Mastering Whitetails or like Understanding Whitetails. And like I'm halfway through that book. Like I still personally, like I enjoy listening to podcasts and enjoy listening to people have the conversation, the full tips and tactics and all that kind of stuff. But like there's just something different about like putting a book in your hand and like feeling the pages and actually reading it and like being able to like go back and like read what you just read. I don't know. I never was a big reader in high school. Yeah. Like I hated reading, and now it's like I kind of enjoy it only if it's whitetail books.
Yep. And a lot of your older stuff, books mainly related, but there's a lot of things that don't get talked a lot about in this day and age. Like technology's different, hunting style's different, but there's really some things that get looked over that you can find in that older information that can still be really vital into having success, nowadays. So it's definitely well worth pulling some of those old books out, wiping the dust off, and getting into them.
Well, there was actually that. I want to get into your shoes, but this is just on topic, so I figured I'd just talk about this right now because this is going to be a later part of the podcast. But there's one part of the book that talks about like rubs and scrapes, and like I really like. Obviously, that's like rubs stand up to you from an early age. Those are things that just stand out right away because it's like they're visible from far away, right? Like you can see them. It's like that's a rub down there. Scrapes are, you have to learn a little bit about them. Like we didn't learn about scrapes for like, what was that, like 4 years ago?
Yeah,
like
we were a couple year or two into the podcast before we were like, oh, what is this?
I was like, what's the scrape? Like, how do I even make a mock scrape? Like, where to make a mock scrape? All that kind of stuff. It's like you can really make a mock scrape almost anywhere. It just has to be on in an area where deer would be, like frequent or outside that bedding. But anyway, with the rubs, I got scrapes down, but I'm like, I had one success with rubs, and it was that 8-point there up in that was Clinton County. I got that one. But like I called him in, I was like, oh, I didn't think anything about it. But after reading this book with the rubs, if you have a lot of rubs in an area, like a rub line, something like that, and there's good trail, bucks will frequent that area because they're used to that area. Now, if you call in that area, it makes them more interested because they already know that's a well-traveled route because it's so many rubs. So go back now to where I'm scouting, and like I find this heavy trail, and I found a bunch of big rubs, bunch of scrapes, like all like I looked at my OnX and I did the line measuring, and it's about a mile long of this trail with just rubs along this trail the whole way down, like big rubs, small rubs, like pine trees that are broken in half, rubs, like it's tore up. And I'm like, okay, that's a spot that I can use my calling tactics by reading this book, because I never would have thought about calling that area.
Right.
It makes sense now. It's like that's a frequented area by bucks and possibly even doe.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've always felt that way. Like there's, there might be certain days when calling works better, but sometimes it's just the location. I think when you have multiple bucks kind of bouncing into each other, from smaller areas, sometimes it's even, multiple travel routes, merging into one another, different bucks are using, like bucks are expecting to basically hear other bucks in those areas, and when they do, that's when they're going to want to come in and investigate. Versus there's some areas, you might think, well, if I call here, at least my sound will travel, or I might have some just good shooting, angles and windows. But I really think that's a good point, that if you're finding an area that's getting used by multiple bucks, that's probably your best chance to call one of them in.
Yeah, I mean after read like I said, I never would have thought about that till I read that older book. So like, and you hear people talk about calling and the calling tactics and when to call, how to call, but like to find an area like that, read it in a book, and then you also use the knowledge you hear from like podcasts or other veteran hunters about like, this is how you should call. Like, in that area, I could be aggressive. I could be more aggressive in that area, probably because they'd be more willing to come into a call, especially if it's like if you have a grunt, or like during the rut, like if you use a doe bleat in that area, like they may be traveling that, because I don't want to give too much away, but like where it's at, like it's like kind of like it's not the top third, but it's also not the bottom third. Like it's pretty much middle.
Yeah, there's only one other option.
It's pretty much middle, but like they're traveling right on that. And if you think about it, like if they're traveling that, they're either going to catch all the thermals coming down, wind coming down, whatever, or thermals coming up in the evening. Like it's just, if they travel that, it's going to be, they can catch it no matter what.
Yeah. And I will say, if we're not getting off topic, but like I do probably more calling than the majority of any deer hunter. When I'm bow hunting during the rut, I bet you I never go 10 minutes without calling. Most of the time I probably go every 5 minutes. But last year last year I hunted less than I probably ever have, but it's mainly, number one, it's the guiding business. Number two, my son, getting more and more into sports, and just lack of time. But I did hunt the last week of the archery season, in November there, and I saw, I think, 28 different bucks that week, and I'll bet you 16 or 18 of them all came into blind grunting. And that's just calling like crazy. I mean, that's a lot of encounters that I feel I wouldn't have had if I wasn't calling. Like, and you can tell when a buck comes into your calling, like they're coming and looking versus just cruising. Um, Several of them years back, some of them, ripping trees up as they were coming in, investigating. So it leads you to a lot more encounters. And I do think, especially in Pennsylvania and, the terrain and the type of woods that we hunt, that the reason why you can call so much is because, a buck many times is only in hearing range for seconds at the most. Like, given the terrain, the way the wind blows, and the forest, the thickness, and just so many factors. I think it's a lot different here, and also you got bucks here like covering miles and miles in a day. It's not like you're in a little wood lot and they all hear you, and eventually they're like, all right, enough of that. I'm not, I'm getting the heck out of here. Like, there's bucks that, like I said, that, you know, 10 minutes ago could be literally a half mile or, half mile away or whatever. And, then eventually they're finally in hearing range just for a matter of seconds. So if you're not, you're not calling a lot, I'm telling you, you're really missing out on more, more and more opportunities.
Wow. I don't think I've ever, like, every podcast I've listened to with you, I don't think we've ever talked about calling, because I never would have guessed, because a lot of people in PA, like you said, they don't call. We've talked to one, Derek Nace is really the only person we talked to that calls a lot, and it works for him. So, like, now I'm interested, like, what kind of, like, what's your calling technique? Because you said every 5 to 10, like sometimes 5-10 minutes. So,
yeah, 10 minutes at the most. All I bring too is a grunt call, and I'm not saying that's the best strategy. I know a lot of people have luck rattling or bleeding, but I'm a very simple guy when it comes to like gear and that. Like, and I'm kind of old school. I don't even a lot of times even bring a lunch or anything, or I pack light. I get out there. I got a grunt call in my pocket. I got my knife and a few other things, and that's about it. But I get really aggressive. I mean, I'll grunt 5, 6, 7 times in different directions, almost as loud as I can too. But not to the point where it doesn't sound right either. But I feel like the louder I get, the better my odds go up. Like, I'm guessing, I really don't know how far these bucks are hearing me out there, but I wouldn't be surprised if bucks 1,000 yards away sometimes are hearing me, and then all of a sudden, 5-10 minutes later they show up. It's just amazing. Like, when I don't grunt, because like I said, that's all I'm doing mainly. When I don't grunt, especially often, my buck sightings dramatically decrease. Just not seeing bucks. And and I'll notice that too, like, with my clients, because I tell them to call a lot. But the thing about it is, like, if you're not doing it a lot, you don't have faith in it, I think eventually, people, they just quit doing it. Like, I've been calling, someone might say I've called for 3-4 hours, just like you said, every 5-10 minutes, and nothing showed up. Where me, I just keep going, just keep sticking to that. And then, eventually it happens. Some days I think there was a day last year in that week, I think 6 different bucks came into my calling. And it's all blind grunting. Like, I have a lot less luck with calling when I see a buck. It's like, I mean, some of them come in, but most of the time they might come in just a little ways and look, and they're like, this just doesn't seem right. I don't see the buck. Or sometimes I swear, like, if you say you didn't see a buck and he was only 100 yards away and he heard you calling, kind of like a really smart turkey, they'll literally know that that's just not right. Like, I could tell that sound was coming out of that tree. I've had them literally looking up in the tree for me, like, this just didn't seem right. So you got to hit it just right too. Buck's got to be a certain range out there. You're not seeing him, he's not seeing you. Different factors too got to come into play weather-wise. Like, I do like those really calm, quiet, cold, crisp mornings. Sometimes it can be like that anytime throughout the day, but windy, rainy, like that's when I really struggle to call bucks in. But then again, I don't think the sound is reaching out there,
Yeah.
or if, a lot of times, I'll hunt around a front and you're going to have wind, but the wind it'll blow for 5-10 minutes and then you get a little break. And then that's when I'll call. It's not like I'm doing it on a set schedule those days. I will literally, okay, the wind's been howling, and I'll just tell myself, as soon as that wind dies down, start hammering that grunt call again, and in just about every direction. And like I said, it's just amazing how much it has helped.
Man, that's like refreshing to hear, because I do this. I try and do the same thing. Like when we had our rut camp, it was called Rut Camp, right?
It was Rut Camp.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Just wanted to make sure I called it right.
Yeah.
Rut Camp up north. I called I was blind calling, like with a grunt and a bleat call. So like I do like a call sequence kind of, and I called in I figured out he was a 5-point, but I couldn't tell he was a 5-point until he like was already walking away from me at that point. But called him into, like, he came to like 30 yards behind me, then he walked down the mountain. And then the last day we were up there, I called a spike in that came literally right to the base of my tree.
Nice.
And like he was just coming right down a trail, and I was like, because as soon as I stopped the sequence, I heard I'm like, oh, what's this? So of course he comes behind me. So like I'm like in a weird tree, and I had to like make a turn around, have to get the camera underneath me and all that kind of stuff. But he came down, and then like there was a really nice 8-point that came up the crest of the mountain, but I don't think he was coming to my calls, because he was like 200 some yards away, and he was like coming up at like kind of an angle, got to like 60 yards. I tried bleeding at him and grunting at him, like you said, like when you see him, they won't come in. So he just went right up the mountain, didn't come in at all. But that's my experience with that. And then obviously the 8-point I shot, like, but I do like calling. Like I love calling. And then like the buck I wasn't able to cover this year, I did a sequence there too, where I did like some bleats and grunts, had 2 doe come running down to me. The one stood at 8 yards just staring at me, and then walked away. And then here he comes behind me right up to where that doe was, and I take a shot and I hit him, but couldn't recover him. So it's like maybe the calling sequence works, but like you don't know really.
Sometimes you don't know. Yeah,
you don't know if they're coming to that. Like, but I do like calling because it makes it more entertaining throughout the day.
Sure.
I mean,
gets you off your phone, and
right.
I see I'm more of a here, dear. That's my version of calling. Really, I think I did it once. One year, I pulled out the grunt tube, and I obviously didn't have any success with it. But you never would have thought, like you think about like up in the mountains where we hunt, there could be a buck 200-300 yards away, and we would never know because of just, the mountains going up and down and how thick it can get. And it's like, oh, maybe if I would have called, depending, like, do you just call in the rut, or do you do it from, beginning of the season? Because I've heard people do it early season the whole way through.
Yeah, I call pretty much all throughout archery season, but I've called in a few bucks early, but it seems like it's about mid-October till they really get interested in calling. And it also seems like mid-October to late October is good. I think when there's a lot of does coming into heat, maybe the first, second week in November, it doesn't seem as good, because I just think, that's the time that's locked down, or there's just so much breeding going on that like bucks already have what they want. But then, when that starts to die down and bucks are cruising, they're looking for that last hot doe, or, they're kind of getting back in a little bit more of that fighting mood where, that they're just the rut. They're pissed off, to say the least.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just seems like there's certain periods that, other than that lockdown period, where it can be phenomenal. But once again, I would also say that it's more, you got to have the right conditions for it to be good too. Like if I get those really calm, crisp, like cold days, because I also think those colder days, like bucks are just more fired up. They're more ruddy. They're once again they're pissed off. It just gets them that way. And another thing too, I'll say is I bet you at least 80% of the bucks that I've shot anywhere from mid-October through November have been blind grunting. Now, I mean, there's been other keys to my setup that helped that, but it was the blind grunting that really made the encounter. It's just I really don't. I should talk a lot more about it. I don't think I've told enough people about how much success I've had with it.
Yeah, that's so blind grunting. Obviously, you obviously kind of want to be in a good location for that, right? And you want to have a good calling technique. So your location, are you set up when you're set up? Are you set up near where possibly a buck would be cruising through, or like where he'd be bedded at, like to get him to come in to that call?
I mean, I will say a lot of my setups, I'm not really set up like calling's my number one purpose of being here. Like I chose this spot so I'd have a calling advantage. There's been times though, like given the amount of sign in an area or the intel I have, where I felt more confident because once again, I do believe the more bucks that are in a smaller area, the better the calling gets. I really think, or the better the reaction you get. I think if when you have less bucks in an area, I think the amount of the territorial, like the frustration, the how whatever word you want to say, but like they don't get as aggressive sometimes when there's a lot less bucks in an area. Also, I think too, what I find in those areas, it's generally like less bucks and a lot of does. And I think some bucks are like, well, not that worried because there's so many ladies here that I don't really need to get my butt beat because I'll pick up one of these girls one way or the other.
Yeah.
It might be that at least.
One
But,
will be available.
Yeah.
but anyway, yeah, my setups, can vary depending on the time of the year. Mid to late October, I could be on scrapes, I could be on travel corridors. Usually in November, I'm usually focused a little more around does. But I will say too that the maybe the worst thing about blind grunting, I'll at least throw a negative factor, is most of the mature deer that I've ever called in, and I'll be honest too, I've probably killed less of them than what I saw, but 99% coming downwind. That's the frustrating part. Like, but where you get lucky sometimes, because the way I look at it is, I believe a lot of these bucks I would have never seen had I not grunted. Like, I don't think they were coming through my location, but they heard the sound. But where you get lucky sometimes, and a decent amount of time, is they don't know exactly where the sound came from. Even though they might be coming downwind, sometimes when they try to get downwind where they think the sound is, they're already in bow range. Like, it's too late. Like, it just depends. And I think what it really depends on is how close that buck is and how well he knows where that sound came from. You want that buck to come in like not quite sure where he heard that sound, but he knows he's in the somewhat general area, and that's when you can usually connect on one.
Have you ever had more than one buck come in at the exact same time?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. I think I've had 3 different bucks at once come in one time. Yeah, I mean that it can get crazy.
Oh my
And yep.
sure, that could use to your advantage too, because you're making the call. Each buck is going to think that the other buck was making noise, so they're not looking for you at all.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. Yeah, it definitely helps if they see each other, hear each other, something like that. I will say when I call though, I don't get a lot of I don't get bucks usually grunting back at me. I've had a few. Usually they're way more cautious. Like it's funny. It's like they're super aggressive, but yet they're also super cautious. They definitely want to come in and fight, but then they're also real careful. But what I really think it is, and it's not that they're thinking, well, this could be a human that's doing this. I think they're trying to figure out what buck made that sound. Like, I want to get a whiff of what that deer was before I just come in there and pick a fight. Because, I mean, there's, maybe there's always that one buck out there that he knows he's the biggest, baddest, most dominant. But then again, there's a lot of other bucks, and usually there's even some shooters too, obviously. But most bucks come in like, I better just be sure I figure out who I'm messing with before I really go at it here. So that's why they come in downwind.
Because usually the bucks and even does, like, they know the deer that are in the area because of those scrapes. Like, that's their
absolutely
communication hub. So like they'll know, and deer communicate a lot more than what we make them out to communicate. Like, they'll walk around grunting and bleeding and doing all that just to communicate with each other. Like, because they also don't know who's near them, like within range. Like, it also, like, going back to that, if you think about it that way, it makes complete sense to grunt and blindly grunt and stuff like that, because that deer do that as well in the woods. Like, I have multiple videos of deer doing that, walking past my camera, just like grunting, or like I even saw it in the woods. Like, there was two buck that came in grunting, and it was like just like the little like just going like that. Like, it wasn't like anything serious, but like they'll walk around, do that, especially when they're aggressive, or they're, when it's that time of year.
Like, anyone home?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Just something like that.
Yeah. Lastly, because I know we got other stuff to talk about, but I will say, putting cameras on scrapes.
Mm-hmm.
Think of, at least from my experience, like, every year I look at like so many pictures of bucks fighting in front of my cameras around these scrapes. So think of it that way. Like, they're definitely locations that bucks are expecting to not only interact with each other, but like potentially meet up at these places and, and battle it out. So, if you're calling from there, it's definitely just an added, chance of opportunity, just being in the right location because of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. For when they come downwind, like, another thing that I just thought of is, like, for this area that I'm hunting, like, if you set up where they can't necessarily come in easily downwind of you, that would be a good thing to play in your advantage, right? Like, for the area, like, I can't give away all where I'm at, but it's like the hardest thing. Like, we just talked about how, like, we're so willing to give this information up, like, I don't want to give this area up because it's so good, right?
Well, yeah.
But like, okay, so we'll use an example up north. So like, if you have a steep drop off behind you, like, that's a good place to set up and do that blind calling, especially if the wind's blowing at you. That deer can't walk up behind you and do that. Like, if you leave like 10 yards behind you or 20 yards or whatever to that, like you said, if he already comes in that range where that drop off, he's already in bow range at that time. So like, setting up like that is the ideal situation.
Yeah. However, there may be times where a buck won't come in if he knows he can't get downwind. Not saying all the time, but that could be a factor too. So, but no matter what, like I try to say that, chances are we're not going to be setting up most of the time just to have a calling advantage. But then again, wherever you're set up, even if it's an area where, might not seem like it's likely, but if it's the right time of year, I would still be calling a lot. You just never know. You might as well give it a try.
Especially if it's that first cold front of the year, like that first October cold front, even if it's like the second week or like even the first week of October, if you get a cold front. I mean, Steve, you really made me want to call again this year. Like, I'm calling again. Like, I'm gonna do it. And when I get one down, I'm gonna be like, Steve Sherk told me to call.
Hey, I hope that honestly works. One of my articles this year in North American Whitetail magazine is going to be on blind grunting. So
is it?
Pick up a copy of that too. It's going to talk all about it.
Cool. I'll definitely be picking up a copy. So it's a magazine, right? I can find I can subscribe to that, can I? Like, I can.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's one of the more popular magazines in the country.
Well, I don't know anything then.
That's okay.
So, there was something else I wanted. So cameras. Before we get to your season, I know you run a lot of cameras.
Yep.
What did you see? I know you used to do a big study. I'm sure you still do it. The big study. Like, Did you find anything out this year about like the days that were the hot ones to like where you saw the most mature buck activity on those cameras?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely crazy. Like, was not what I've ever seen before, but really mid-October so far is actually the best.
Okay.
And I know it's really rare. Temperatures were right. I think moon was right. Had some really good high pressure days then. But I'm not fully done with the study. There's a small chance it could change. Like some other dates would be, oh, trying to remember. Yeah, I should have been more prepared for you to ask me that. But I do know we had, I want to say roughly November 1st through 3rd were really good. After that, it died down till I want to say about the 9th or 10th. And then maybe the 10th to the 18th was really good too in November.
Okay.
It was kind of like a roller coaster ride though, this rut. And I bet you that's similar to what a lot of other people saw. I mean, there's good days, there's a lot of bad days, up and down. That's pretty typical. But the mid-October was shocking. Like, holy cow, I've never seen that, be the best of the best. So, and that might only be up in my area. I haven't talked to enough people about it, but
So I run about 30 cameras. Now a lot of them I haven't checked, or like the main ones I've checked. Now, Ethan, I looked through them, and like, what was it, like October 7th? We had like there was actually chasing going on October 7th that early in the season, like, and that mid-October, like I saw the same exact thing where like there was bucks cruising during daylight and mature buck too, like cruising during daylight, not just one but like multiple, and like where the pressure wasn't heavy is where I saw that. Like cruising during the day, walking just open daylight, just walking to oak flats or hitting scrapes or what have you. Like, and then also in the November timeframe, I also I can't remember the exact date. I think it was that November. I would say between November, like that first week in November, I saw a bunch of activity as well by scrapes. So I'm seeing. I pretty much saw the same thing too, and I was very. I was like, why are all these big buck like daylighting right now?
Yeah, at least
like,
did I set the
especially
camera
November
up right?
1st.
Like, is the date right on this? Like, you had to like really think about it for a second.
November 1st is when I had my biggest buck on camera, and he was. That's the first time I ever saw him just cruising. Like his tongue was out, everything. He was cruising. So it was. Yeah.
I mean, and if I were to pick, a 5-day window every year, I mean, it would probably be like October 28th and November 2nd. Like, I still think like you can't go wrong with those dates. However, I will say like this Halloween this year, I think it was almost 80 degrees here. And it was slow. Don't get me wrong. It was slow. But then again, that was the day when that was the biggest buck any of my clients killed this year was on Halloween day. So you just never know. It can be tough during the rut, but no matter what, the rut never stops. There's always some movement somewhere. There's always a big buck cruising somewhere. So you're even if it's warm, and a lot of us have limited time, like you still got to be out there.
What's the that everyone says to go nocturnal? Like that's like when they're not seeing. Like I always see on Facebook, like everyone's like, "Oh, all these buck went nocturnal. All the deer are nocturnal now." It's like that's a myth. That's deer are still moving in some location. You just have to get closer. Like
you're just in the wrong spot.
Being more aggressive is the way to get them.
Well, especially too, like if someone says, while they're just bedded down, they're not moving. Well, one thing is, any deer, buck, doe, it doesn't matter. They can't basically survive more than 2 or 3 hours without feeding. That's how their digestive system works. Like they lay down, they get up and browse, and then they lay down again. It might be in a small area that they're doing that, but basically, in my experience watching deer bedding, like I see a lot of them, they'll only lay down 20, 30 minutes and get up and move. And sometimes they'll go a couple hundred yards, and in between that stretch, they'll feed, lay down. Like, so yeah, they are moving all day, but when the movement is sluggish, you usually got to get in those smaller windows where that movement is.
Yep. That's one thing that I think we both learned this year is like be aggressive, and get closer to where they're bedding or where they're going to be traveling in thicker cover, where people aren't going to like, where the normal, like in archery, I think the biggest thing, the thing that holds people back the most is like, I don't want to push through this thick stuff with my bow because I spent so much money on my bow. I don't want to mess up the string or worry about missing something when I get there. I mean, I've been there, like I've thought that numerous times, and I was like, okay, I'll just hold up here and walk through.
Yeah, I don't know. And that's probably why I never buy the most expensive bow or whatever. Like, to me, I'm just gonna go wherever I gotta go, and if I come out and bow's all scratched up or whatever, man, at least I know I was in the right place.
Yeah, it's not gonna be pretty. It's not gonna be pretty, but I'm gonna get it done.
Yep.
So, Steve, with guiding this year, how many clients did you have altogether?
We did have I want to say somewhere around 40 this year. So had quite a few people. I think we got, I want to say maybe like around $16 or whatever. So it wasn't too bad. Pretty good. I do think that we haven't had a rut, because I mean, I'm only guiding 2.5 weeks during archery, and it's during the rut. We haven't had and it's been years since we had a rut where it was just like good for a week or two straight, like super good weather wise. Like, it's just seems like you get a couple good days, you get 3, 4 slow days. It would be nice to see a rut, that was a little bit stronger during the daytime hours. But really, I mean, I can't complain. And certainly every year too, like, I do have a lot of experience, but I'm learning more and more every year, and I'm tweaking what I do, and it's also just it's not even when when you guide people, it's not so much about how you hunt and your abilities and whatever. Like, you have to learn to get on other people's level, and be able to find a way to help them have success, but understand that they may not have the same desire, the same physical abilities, and different factors. So there's so much else that plays a part in clients having success too. But yeah, it still was. I'm not disappointed at all about how last year went. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's still like I think everyone that comes out there obviously knows, like, you're hunting the big woods. There's no guarantee. It's not like a high fence. Like when I went down North Carolina, it was pretty much you weren't guaranteed it, but there was bait out right in North Carolina. Yep. So like I'm rifle hunting. Like if I see something farther away, like when they come up during the rut, it's during archery season. So yep. You don't guide all during rifle, do you?
I actually do. Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Very minimal the first week, pretty much the first 3 days. Then I don't really get at it till the second week of gun. But I will say the second week of gun the past 2 years has been tough here. Just seems like the bucks are, they're stuck in cover. They're spooked. They're worn out. I mean, it takes a different type of hunter to have success that time of year. And the thing is I always have multiple people here at once. So like I rarely ever go with the client. When there's several people around, because I also feel like I don't want to favor anyone either, where Steve always takes that person, or Steve, I don't want to show any favoritism in any way. And then the client I usually get is the person that basically just wants put in the right area. Just literally sometimes show me some pictures of big deer living in that area. Give me a few tips on where you think the bedding is and feeding, the way they travel, and then I'll take it from there. Like, that's normally how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, the second week, I feel like it's always hard too during rifle, because it's always like weird weather. Like this year was like it snowed and then it rained and downpoured, and like it's always rainy. Like during rifle season, it's always like that. Like you like you said, you have to be a different type of hunter to be out there. Like you gotta get soaked sometimes.
Yeah. And that time of year too, I really think like you got to know a lot about the bedding in the area, in the areas you hunt. But then again too, like you got to be careful how you hunt those areas. Or if you bump a buck a couple times, he might vacate that area. It's just a real tricky time of year, challenging time of year. But then again, like we find that there's hardly anyone hunting anymore the second week too. So
Yeah.
you also can have the woods to yourself. So it's just probably a time period where you got to be a special kind of hunter.
Mhm.
But then again, it can really be good if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that after the first weekend into maybe, I mean, they put a lot of drives on too the second week down where I'm at. So like, I feel like if they're not putting the drives on, all that kind of stuff, like that's the time when you have to really, like, you're supposed to always try and use the wind and all that to your advantage. But like, if you can use the wind to your advantage during rifle season and you have the perfect wind to get in there and maybe sneak up on deer or something like that, like that, maybe having that bad weather is in your favor, right? Like try and use that to your advantage, I think, is the best thing to do during that second week.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, when I'm rifle hunting, I always prefer to have snow. Snow just gives you so much better background. You can spot deer way easier with snow. There's no snow, especially because I'm a still hunter too when I rifle hunt mainly. And then too, seeing all the tracks, seeing the sign, even seeing buck tracks. I'm not much of a tracker, but like seeing where big bucks have been moving, where they've been bedding, feeding, you name it. Like it just makes the ball game so much easier with snow. So and last year, up our way, we had it mostly for the whole rifle season. But other than that, like we rarely get more than a couple days of snow every year up here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got some snow this year, and I always get excited because it's like, cool, I can actually see the deer. Brown on white. Like, it's awesome. This is great. Stands out pretty good. But I actually I was like, you know what? Why? I'm in the big woods. It's rifle season. Deer getting pushed around. They're moving constantly. Why wouldn't I just catch a set of tracks and just walk? Right? I'm walking anyway. Why not at least try to follow tracks? And I did that this year and followed, and I could tell it was two doe. I think it was like a mom and, last year's fawn. I followed them out. They went down the mountain. I was not following them down the mountain because, no, thank you. It was way too steep, but they made it. But it went into the laurel, and this was probably day 3 or 4, into the rifle season. So I knew like all the deer at this point are looking for cover, and with the mountain laurel taking up the whole side of the mountain, I figured they were in there. And sure enough, I found a spot, sat down, and Mama Doe saw me before I saw her, so I never got a shot. But yeah, you get that fresh snow in rifle season. It's like you got to take full advantage of that and just track, go. Even if you don't know anything about tracks at all, you're like, I don't know if this is a buck. I don't know if this is a doe. Like big, I mean, the size, big or small, but just follow them.
Yep, you can learn a lot.
You learn so much. You're like, oh, these deer are traveling here now, and this is where they're ending up. And that track I can associate with a deer that looks like this. And then over time, you just keep that knowledge, and then you just get better and better at it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Nope. Totally agree.
So the 16 buck that were shot this year, you said one of your clients got the biggest one, right?
Yep.
So like, how do you set them up this year? Like, I'm sure it changes every year. Like, it's probably not the same spot every year. So like, how do you set them up this year?
Well, maybe we'll talk about the biggest buck because we had all different kinds of setups. The biggest one, the one that was talking about, we set up based on the weather that day, based on very, very heavy drought conditions we had this way this year. Hardly water anywhere. There really wasn't any water up on the mountain. The only water sources were down in the way bottoms, where all the springs had dried out, and you almost just had pockets of water down in the bottoms. There was some flowing water, but that's the only place where there was water. And we were noticing that, especially the does, like everything was close to water. When I say close, maybe within 1,000 yards. Like there was no bedding at all, like upper third, not happening. I saw that starting to shift somewhere late October. And we did have the buck on camera that my client shot. And it was just like, it was one of those situations where, I mean, I didn't want to like think for sure that he was going to get an opportunity at that deer. But then again, I'm just looking at the way things were lining up. He was down in this creek bottom. He was on a scrape line, and getting pictures of the deer just a little bit after dark. He hadn't daylighted down this spot yet, but I'm like, geez, it's 80. It's going to be almost 80 degrees on Halloween day. That buck, the only place he can get water is down in that bottom. The only place that he can find does is down in that bottom. Just a lot of things were pointing towards him showing up down there. And sure enough, and there was a lot of luck involved here too, because he was hunting this scrape line on this old logging trail, and I was expecting the buck to maybe come right down the scrape line and work multiple scrapes. Well, he was set up just on one of the scrapes, and instead of the buck working the whole scrape line, the only scrape that buck hit was the scrape that my client was hunting over.
Oh.
Like, I mean, there's like 15 scrapes, and he came right to that one and crossed right in front of him and headed right down to the stream that he was only 20 yards from. He was going to basically hit the scrape, go down, get a drink, and probably look for some does. But like, that's where we got lucky, was he could have hit any one of those scrapes and then went down to the creek. Well, we were just set up at the right one, and that wasn't even the one that my camera was on. That wasn't even exactly where I told him to set up. I just gave him a general location, and I said, in this little 50, 70 yard square, just find one of the scrapes that you can get good shooting to, because I expected him to come down that logging trail and hit multiple scrapes. So we got lucky as far as getting a shot opportunity. We definitely, though, had the right game plan given the day and the conditions. Like, that buck did exactly what I thought he was going to do. And another thing too, about my client that I find that not everyone has the same mindset, but he had hunted 2 or 3 days already, and other than the first day is the only day he saw any deer. I think he went 2 or 3 days without seeing any deer until he saw that one again. But like, that is so important. Like, when you hunt big woods and lower deer densities, and areas where they're not coming into the food plot, or 4 o'clock every night. Like, it can be unpredictable, but you just keep putting yourself in these situations where everything makes sense. Just sooner or later, something's going to cross by. It's not, you're not going to have an encounter every day, or, sometimes you'll hunt several days and not see a deer, but you just keep sticking to that right game plan and what and all of a sudden it just works, and that's something where I think a lot of people struggle. They just don't realize sometimes that they're in the right spot, or what they're doing is working, but they need the results to come sooner. And like, just from experience over the years, like, I usually know, even though maybe I'm not having as much success, or maybe I'm not seeing that many deer, but I'm confident in what I'm doing. It's just a matter of repetition. Keep doing it. Sooner or later, it's going to happen.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. Like, especially when you hunt the big woods. Like,
Yep.
I mean, even like hill country or ag type land down here, it's still like, you still got to put in a lot of time just to see the deer, because down here in ag, it's more heavily pressured, and like, deer won't move until it's like they know it's safe. Big woods, it's just because there's so much land. It's like, you could be you could be 50 yards off and never see that deer coming, or see him, like, you never hear him, anything like that. But yeah, I completely agree with that. But so the scrape line, there's 15 scrapes, and it said your camera wasn't on the one that he hit. What made
or not to interrupt you?
Yeah,
my camera wasn't on the one that he hit that day, or if that's what you meant. Like, like, I mean, it was just he picked one of the scrapes and just like winning the lottery,
yeah. So the scrape your camera was on, what made you like put it over that scrape compared to any of the other scrapes?
Yeah, so the scrape that my camera was on, there's a signpost rub there too, right beside the scrape, and then there's another trail. There's like a 4-way intersection there at that scrape. So there's just a lot more going on in that spot. Like, I could set the camera on any of the scrapes, but after looking at all of them, I'm like, this one by far gives me more rhyme or reason that this is probably the most active one. And I do think it, excuse me, probably is, but that's just how hunting goes. It doesn't mean, that that's always going to be how it works, or it just goes to show too, like that buck that day, I would have never had him on camera, yet he was coming through. He's just 30, 40 yards away down at one of those other scrapes.
Yeah. And so the stream, like from that scrape how close was that scrape you had a camera over to that little creek or stream?
Like 20, 30 yards. So I mean, it was right there.
Because I always thought this, like, especially because I used to hunt, there was a big bottom where my cabin used to be, and there was all these scrapes that would be along that. The stream's going down, and I'm wondering if, like, he hits one of the ones that's further down the stream, if he can catch all that scent that's up above. Yeah, by hitting that one scrape. Like, I mean, if he's going to that water, he could probably catch all that scent, especially if it was in the morning.
Yeah, it was in the evening, and my client set up right. He set up like on the low end, like the buck came down the hill, just as you would think, and he was set up kind of watching uphill, where a lot of people might not like that setup because some of your setup is in the same eye level as the deer too. But given the thermals, you don't really have much choice. Yeah, thermals were going to pull down towards that water and drop in the evening. But he was on that right side of that scrape line. Buck came down the hill with thermals on his back. Everything was in our favor as far as that buck not being able to smell him, unless he sets up on the wrong scrape. Buck goes down to the stream and cuts behind him. Then he would have spooked him. But that's just how hunting goes. But everything was right for the setup. We just got lucky on what scrape he hit. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's we always said, like, you could put a lot of work in, but there's a lot of luck that goes into it. You got it. There's always that, like I always say, with my own hunting or guiding people, like, people get encounters, but then it's like you need that other 10% of just making it happen, getting an opportunity, and getting to make a good shot. Yeah, that's what. So he went in there without a setup already. So what was he like? Was he a climber? He was in a saddle. Okay, yep. All right. Yep, cool. Yep. He went in there and got set up right in the afternoon, and I mean, it was just unbelievable. I never told him this, but like the night before, I told him, I said, if you kill a buck tomorrow, I said, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to help you until late because I have to take my son trick-or-treating. Like, I let him know ahead of time. I was like, it's not that I won't help at all, but it could be a little bit later. But honestly, it was like a hint to him. Like, I looked at everything that was coming into play, and given the setup that he had, I honestly thought it was going to happen. And I've never told anyone that, because I didn't want to, like, sound like I was bragging or overconfident, or I'm even careful. I never want to tell another client, hey, just so you know, I really think it's going to happen tomorrow, because a lot of times it doesn't, and then I feel like they're going to lose faith in me. But deep down, that's really what I thought was going to happen, and it did. I always like a ruck camp, I'm like, today's the day. Today's it's going to happen. But then I had one of those days was like, man, I'm wore down. Like, it's not going to happen today. And then I didn't see anything that day. But I feel like when you go into it with the mindset of, okay, it's going to happen today, it puts your mind more at ease and all. It's like, okay, it's going to happen. If you keep telling yourself that, it'll eventually will happen. But it's still hard to do that. And the best thing you can tell your mind is I probably check my time, I don't know, every 10, 15 minutes, but I always tell myself, you're just 15 minutes closer to when it happens. Like, the more time you put in, whether it's not even going to be this year, but you are getting closer to having your next opportunity. So, because it can definitely mess with your mind, thinking, here's another day of nothing. Here's another day of nothing. But no, what that means is you are, without a doubt, one day closer to it happening. Just keep telling yourself, and you just more time, and there you go. Eventually, it works. Yeah, it's my thought is always like, I'm going to go home without something. What am I going to tell my wife? Well, can I go out again? No.
I mean, it's gotten to the point sometimes where I'm out there and I'm like, okay, I'm in a good spot. There's going to be a deer that comes out of there or there. Like I'll pick out 2 spots where I think they're going to come out of. And then I'll be like, all right, I'm getting a little hungry. If I reach for my bag now, grab something, and I open it up, what if a deer comes?
Mm-hmm.
I got to put food down. I'm not just going to drop the food. I'm not a food waster here, but I want to shoot a deer. So then all that stuff runs through your mind the whole time. It's like, when's the right time to grab a bite to eat? When's the right time to grab a drink? It's like, oh, I got to do that. And then you're like shoving food in your face real quick. It's just like, all right, I'm done. Where's the deer?
Yeah, food can help though, like pass the time and just make the hunt more enjoyable. So I definitely would tell people not to be out there starving themselves.
I bring more food than I do gear sometimes, I think. I could probably stay out there for 2 days with the amount of food I bring.
Before we end the podcast, I also, like, for me, there's been multiple times where, like, I'll eat a sandwich and then right after I eat the sandwich, a deer will come out. Like, I always am in the mindset, like, if I eat the sandwich now, a deer will come out.
Yep.
The whole sandwich, right?
Yeah. I'll eat the whole sandwich, and then right after that,
don't waste any.
Yeah. There's been multiple times where I start eating, and then the deer comes out. So, what would be your biggest advice, Steve, to any listener out there? We covered blind grunting and hunting scrape lines and rub lines in this episode. So, like, what would be your biggest advice to a listener?
Yeah, I mean, for me, over the years, I can't say enough as far as like how important scouting is. I don't think you can ever scout enough, and especially this time of year. A lot of my scouting this time of year is and it's not so much based on all the sign that I have found, that was made this past year, but really just getting to know your areas better and better. Like there's no better time of year than to do it right now. Find where your food sources are, locate your bedding areas, learn how deer travel in those areas. And even areas that you've been hunting for years, like and especially myself, like every time I go into an area this time of year, like I come out with something like I did not know that was there. I always find something. And go into this coming season with an open mind, where you don't know if we're going to have acorns. We don't know if we're going to have drought conditions. We don't know all these other factors, but yet your areas well enough that no matter what conditions, what food sources, you're going to be prepared for whatever Mother Nature throws at you. And that's really one of the most important things that we should be doing this time of year. So I think, given the time when this podcast is going to run, I really think that that's probably the best advice that I could give, some of the listeners right now.
That's actually great advice, to plan for everything. Like, have an A, B, C, D. If there's a drought, plan where you're going to go. If there's no food, plan where you're going to go. If there's, if they clear cut when you didn't think they were going to clear cut that area, plan for a backup plan. Like,
exactly,
never know what the game commission is going to do with clear cuts.
26 letters in the alphabet for a reason. You got at least 26 plans.
A to Z.
Yep.
I've probably had more than those 26 different plans before. So don't just go by the alphabet.
Making up your own letters. This is 2 lines and a dot.
Man, the hunting alphabet.
Steve, it's always a pleasure having you on the podcast, man. Where can people follow you, and if they're interested in coming up and hunting with you, where can they go check?
Yep. You can find me on Instagram or Facebook, Sherk's Guide Service, and just feel free to message me on there. And I don't have a ton of spots for this coming season. I do have a few, especially think around that 23rd to 25th of October period. A few gun hunts left too, but even if it's not hunting that you might want to do with me, but you just want to follow or reach out to me, I'm always glad to talk to people when I can. So I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Remember, everyone, to keep hunting,
keep fishing,
always enjoy the fishing process. See you.